Hi everyone, and welcome to the Keptn community meeting. I hope you can see my screen. Yeah, let's kick this off. Today we have a couple of exciting topics, and the first topic I want to actually announce, or I want to talk about, I'm really excited about because it's something that we have been working on a little bit for quite some time already in the background. And it's our community Rockstar program. So we have a lot of folks in the Keptn community, and we know the community is doing great. And a lot of people are putting a lot of effort into the community work, and they are contributing to Keptn, they are writing extensions for Keptn. So we thought about kind of bringing a program to life to appreciate those people. And the community program, you might have already seen it. We have a small description on the community page. If you go to our Keptn community page, we now have our community Rockstar subsection. And if we take a look there, we have defined different categories, which we kind of, where we see a lot of people showing excellence. For the last quarter, kind of, we saw a lot of good contributions and a lot of work in the Keptn community from especially one of our community members. He's also here today on the call. So with this, I'm not sure if the PR is already merged. So your name does not show up here at the moment, but I'm sure the PR will be merged quite fast. So congratulations, Christian. You are awarded our first community Rockstar. Thanks so much for your work on the Keptn core, on your GitLab contributions. You've done a webinar together with Andy. So you have really shown all those excellent contributions, and thank you so much from the whole Keptn community for your contribution.
Thank you. It's a big surprise. No, thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Community meetings. It's great to have you here, and yeah, so we are really happy to have you here in the Keptn community. And Andy's also joining. He just missed the kind of award celebration.
Well, you should refresh your screen now. Refresh your.
Oh, I have to refresh. Let's take a look. Oh, and here we go. Okay, awesome. So thanks, Christian, again for all your work and contributions to Keptn. And yeah, so with this.
Maybe a minor detail here. Can we use like the GitHub names and link them?
Sure, absolutely. So if you don't mind, can you just file a PR against this, and we will merge it again. So let's see if we can do it until the end of this meeting. If you also want to become a community Rockstar, it's kind of a good segue to the next point. You can start with some good first issues. We're still listed, we're listed since a couple of weeks on the goodfirstissue.dev website, and also there's a link to good first issues. We always have a couple of good first issues, and actually later in this meeting, I'm not sure if we have more community members joining this meeting, but we have already some good first issue contributors since last week, so that's pretty amazing. If you want to stay in touch, it's like the usual ways. Join us on Slack, follow us on Twitter, also join the Keptn mailing list. We are announcing here also new public speaking events. We are doing quite regularly meetups and webinars. So if you join us on the Google group, all the updates directly to your inbox. I think the next part we can skip. Gabriel was actually asking for some discussions with the Keptn team, but unfortunately he can't join today, so we are skipping this. And yeah, I think I'm handing over to Florian, I guess, to present some of his PRs. Let me stop here.
All right, thank you, Jürgen. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Today I want to show you two pull requests. So let's just start with the first one. The first one concerns the CLI. So what's going on here is basically previously we allowed to expose the bridge with the keptn configure bridge command, but in order to really make it secure and enable authentication for the bridge, we recommended to follow a procedure that we outlined in the docs, where you basically had to create a Kubernetes secret that holds the user credentials for the bridge, and then restart the bridge pod, and then the bridge is secured. And we thought we could automate this last part of creating the secret and restarting the pod. And therefore we extended the configure bridge command. And now we have two mandatory additional parameters, which is the user and the password. And it works just as you would imagine. So now if you execute that command, the bridge will be secured via basic authentication automatically. And yeah, here's the pull request for that, where I've outlined what was necessary to do that. Also, since we now introduced additional role-based access control restrictions, I've also outlined the required permissions for the API service that does the actual configuration of the Kubernetes resources in order to enable the bridge access. All right, are there any questions about that? Okay, if not, okay, if not, I would like to continue with my second pull request, which was quite a big one, to be honest. This was the re-implementation or the new version of the remediation service. So maybe let's look at the issue that Johannes described here. So basically, in order to support the new kind of remediation workflow, where you are able to define multiple actions for several kinds of problems in order to step-by-step execute those actions, evaluate if they have reached the desired effect, and then, if necessary, execute the next action and so on. We had to re-implement the remediation service. And this one now again listens to keptn.problem.open events, then basically triggers the first action that has been found for this kind of problem, then waits or also updates the status of the current remediation workflow in the configuration service. And as soon as an action has been finished, it evaluates or waits for a certain amount of time, then evaluates the remediation action, waits for a response of the SLI service or of the Lighthouse service in order to check the evaluation, and then, if necessary, execute the next action and so on until the remediation has been finished or until there are no further actions defined in the remediation file. And that was a lot of talking, so maybe just look at an example remediation workflow in the bridge. So as you can see here, we have the problem open event, and then the remediation workflow has been triggered, which also caused the status change, and the action has been executed. In that case, a feature toggle has been done, and then action has been started, finished, and the evaluation has been finished. In that case, it didn't reach the desired effect, and then the next action has been executed. And in that case, the evaluation also failed because we don't have an SLI provider. But in that case, we ran out of actions and the remediation workflow is finished. And also, if you want to look at the detailed flow of events during that workflow, you can look at this issue here where Andreas drew a sequence diagram of the whole workflow. And yeah, that's it from my side. And I would like to hand over to Ermin, please.
So before Ermin starts the presentation, I have to say I'm impressed how Keptn Bridge can now actually be used to not only verify that things work, but verify that things that we are developing now also work. So great job. And I think Ermin has to say some words about that as well.
Thank you very much. Yeah, as I'm basically working on the Keptn Bridge, I'm going to present to you pull request that I actually already announced last time with the possibility to notify users. And now we are using that feature to notify you about new available Keptn Bridge in the UI. So basically the idea is that we have a version JSON where we now store the version of the latest Keptn Bridge that is available, and we'll show you a notification on top of the bridge when there is a new version available. Behind that feature, there is a lot more. There is also the user can enable or disable this functionality because we, of course, collect statistical data when you enable that feature. And for when you have that feature enabled, you will get that notification. I have also, as always, a short demonstration of that one in a bridge that I have deployed on my demo cluster. When you start a bridge with this version check for the very first time, you get notified about this new feature and you can opt in to activate it. So as long as you don't have activated it or haven't used it yet, you get the information that there is now this new feature available, and you can decline or accept that one here. And of course, you can always change your decision here on the right top corner in this user menu, where you can see your current Keptn version and the current bridge version. And in my case, because I have here a bridge deployed that is in development, it says that there is an invalid version for this automatic version check, so it cannot execute this version check. But of course, I also have an example which demonstrates the notification. So here I have the bridge version 070 minus EAP, so an older EAP version of the bridge deployed, and it says there is a new Keptn Bridge 070 EAP 2020-06-17 available. And it says also this is a pre-release version that might contain experimental features, so please be aware of that. And for details, of course, we have also some upgrade instructions for you. And this is the official announcement that we have a new early access version of the Keptn Bridge available, which can be found on the Keptn homepage in the Keptn Bridge reference. And here you have the install instructions how to upgrade to this new early access preview version. Yeah. Are there any questions? If not, that's all from my side, and I'm handing over to Andreas.
Thank you. Share my screen. So I've worked on the issue where we introduced dedicated RBAC rules for all our Keptn services. And I would like to show you how this, for example, looks for the configuration service. As you probably know, the configuration service needs to access or needs to store Git credentials for accessing the Git repository. And therefore, we have to define a role which does allow to access, create, and also delete secrets. And therefore, we introduced a dedicated service account, which we call Keptn Configure Service. And this service account will afterwards be used for the configuration service. And manage secrets, we already have the role, which now allows you to create, get, and also delete secrets, but only within the Keptn namespace, because this is a role and not the cluster role. So this role is limited to the Keptn namespace. And finally, you have to bind this role, this Keptn manage secrets role, to the service account, to the Keptn configuration service account. And therefore you can use this role binding. Last but not least, of course, you have to use the service account inside your deployment. And here you simply set this service account. And by this, we, for example, limited the configuration service to only have the rights to access secrets in the Keptn namespace. And of course, if you are doing this for your own service, we provide you the contribution guidelines, and you can read up all these details which I was talking here in the contributing repository.
That's nice. I'm a code person. I hate reading instructions. I rather look at diff files. Would it be possible that we just link the pull requests in our contributing guide so people can refer to the pull request as an example? Because there's a lot of written things here, and in reality, it's like 10 lines of YAML file that you have to edit. So it sounds more complicated than it actually is.
Sure, let's do this.
Thanks.
Then the next one is Johannes. Or if there are any further questions, I'm happy to take them. Okay, Johannes.
Johannes, you are muted.
Okay, now you can see my screen and hear my voice. I was working on two issues I want to present today. The first one is that we as a team decided to split the upgrade mechanism into two versions, so to say. One that automatically converts Helm 2 releases into Helm 3 releases. This is the recommended way when you have an environment where you are just running Keptn. And the second upgrader does no upgrade of the Helm releases, but provides, does no upgrade. But we still provide instructions how you can do that then manually. And this is shown in the upgrader documentation. And this is where I want to go next. Let's have a look on the documentation. Here you can see, the upgrade mechanism from Keptn 0.6.2 to 0.7. And here we highlight that Keptn 0.7 uses Helm 3 and also the consequences when you don't convert your Helm releases. And also be aware that Helm 2 will be end of life, or they will stop to support Helm 2 in starting with August 13th. And here are the explanations for the two jobs. The first one is without doing the Helm upgrade. It's just executing then the Kubernetes job. As mentioned here, it's the upgrade -job.yaml. And below, you will find all the instructions to convert your Helm releases manually. You need the Helm file 2 CLI, then the Helm file 3 CLI, and then you get all your Helm releases on your cluster by doing a Helm list minus a Q. And with the plugin you need to install in this step, Helm 3 plugin install, you then can manually convert all your Helm releases from 2 to 3. And finally, when you want or when you don't need Tiller anymore on your cluster, you also can use this plugin by doing a cleanup, and this removes Tiller from your Kubernetes cluster. And in case you have an environment where it's just running Keptn on it, then you can use the upgrader that automatically does the job that is written down here. And therefore you deploy the Kubernetes job that has the name upgrade minus job minus helm3.yaml. And this will then automatically upgrade all your Helm releases. All right. There, I just want to ask someone, I'm still need a final approval for this documentation. Yeah, the community left some notes. I addressed them and I asked someone to read through the documentation again and to give me an approval when you consider it as okay. And the second issue I want to talk about is that I moved the credentials from the MongoDB into a secret. Well, before they were stored or managed by environment variables next to the deployment. And this is not secure, as you then can see the credentials used for MongoDB. And therefore, I created a secret now and reference the secret when deploying the MongoDB. Let's just have a look. Here is the problem. The environment variable are holding the password username. And here is the proposed solution that I implemented. It's just referencing a secret. In this case, it's the MongoDB minus credentials secret. And from this secret, I'm then fetching the credentials. Yeah.
I'm wondering, and maybe this question is more directed to Florian than to you. Are we touching the MongoDB in the upgrader? As in, are we reading data from the MongoDB and writing data again? Because I think we had some changes.
Yes, we're doing lots of that actually. Because in the upcoming version, we're going to have a separate collection per project to make the whole querying more efficient. So therefore, the original events from previous versions would have to be extracted from the previous collection, and then they would have to be split up into the several dedicated collections for each project.
Yeah, that means that we need to take care in the upgrader, or at least in the future, that we read the MongoDB credentials also from that secret. But I think for the upcoming release, we don't need to change the upgrader because it's still using the old way.
Okay, any questions regarding my issues? Then I will hand over to...
Sorry for jumping in here. Before you hand over to Christian, because there was some discussion in the chat, and I just realized that I think by accident it has been restricted to only, I think, to only panelists. So I would like to ask Andy to basically also talk about your question you had in the chat here in the meeting, because attendees could not read the question and also could not read the answer from Florian.
Okay.
It was regarding the remediation service.
Yeah, thanks for the reminder. For whatever reason, I couldn't post it in Q&A. That's why I used the chat, and I accidentally just said panelist. It was my mistake. Yeah, so my question was, what is actually happening at the end of the remediations when nothing really, when the problem is actually not solved? And I was wondering, in case we have any option to then say, in case of success, do something, or in case of failure, do something.
Let me answer this question. So that's a good point. And actually, in this case, we profit from the event-based approach we have here in Keptn, because this could be implemented by writing a custom service that simply listens to the remediation.finished events. And in those events, we have the information whether a remediation workflow has been successful or not. And depending on that information, the service can react.
Yeah, no, that's actually a good point, because that would mean it's, let's say, in case of success, I may get a Slack notification because the Slack service is listening for that. Or in case of a failed remediation, I could, let's say, use a ServiceNow integration and then have it create a ticket to escalate.
Exactly.
I'm just wondering, I mean, this is obviously all possible. It's great. Still wondering if we should, for future, consider in the remediation files an on error and an on success work. I don't know. I may overthink this whole thing. I think what you are explaining, but your answer was perfect, right? Because I have the full flexibility. But just thinking out loud, if it makes sense to extend it in the future.
I mean, an on error doesn't make sense because you can add any action at the end of the list of the actions. So you can make an action where you can send a Slack message.
Oh, you're right, because basically my actions the last one will always be the one that is executed in case none of the ones above is, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, thank you.
Maybe I can, maybe to explain it or to show it to everyone. With this remediation use case that Florian showed us today, you have the possibility to add as many actions as you want to your remediation workflow. In this case, it was a remediation workflow of 2 actions, scaling, and it was both was a toggling of a feature flag, but that you can also add a 3rd one, and this could also be an escalation step.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
This would be another option to take to implement your use case. All
That's
right.
cool. And we are already seeing a sneak preview of a blog post that is
right.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to this.
It's already in Medium, and actually I just need to set some tags, and I'm ready to publish it. Yeah.
Awesome. So stay tuned for the blog post from Johannes.
All right. Again, the wrong window. Yeah, that was it from my side. Christian, can you please continue with your tasks?
Yeah. So I have a task that's actually a task for all of you. We're currently thinking a little bit internally how we can do Keptn installation in the future. And that led to a discussion about why do we need to install Istio and Nginx Ingress. And I have here the Keptn enhancement proposal number 18 that I'm asking all of you to read and to comment on. And I'm just going to quickly go over the main things that this enhancement proposal is proposing. So the main thing is the Keptn installer should no longer automatically install Istio or Nginx Ingress. And Keptn API as well as Bridge are also no longer exposed using an Istio virtual service or any Ingress objects. Instead, what we want to do is we want to expose API and Bridge via plain old Kubernetes services of type node port or load balancer, if that's what the user wants to do. I'm going to skip the motivation behind this. Feel free to read and comment on this. And I'm going to just go over to what it will feel like to the user. So for the user, there will be 2 flags provided in the installer. The first one is the Keptn API service type, which can be either cluster IP, node port, or load balancer, and the Keptn Bridge service type, which has the same options available. And for both options, cluster IP will be the default option. So by default, your Keptn installation will not be reachable from the outside, which in my opinion is a really smart default in terms of security. So if you don't know what you're doing, the first thing you will have is cluster IP, and you can't do anything wrong with that. If you then want to access your Keptn cluster, you can either use a plain old Kubernetes port forward if you really want to, or you always have the option to manually edit your service, for instance, using kubectl, and set the type to node port or load balancer afterwards. So there's nothing that's being happening here that cannot be reverted, or that is like locked in or something. You can edit this afterwards all the time. And the main benefit that I see from this approach is that we are only relying on Kubernetes features and not on like Istio or Nginx ingress. And this will make troubleshooting API or bridge issues regarding IPs that are being exposed or not a lot easier. In addition, right now, Keptn is managing so many things in the background using Istio and virtual services like SSL certificates. This is no longer a thing if we implement this. It's something that the user now will have full control. So if you already have an Istio installation with SSL configured and other things configured, it's quite easy to just expose API or bridge via your existing Istio installation using ingress manifests or virtual services. And you don't have to rely on Keptn doing that for you. All right, there's a lot more to this, especially from a technical standpoint, which I'm not going to discuss here. We can discuss this on the enhancement proposal if you want to. But if you have any questions, so feel free to ask them right now or ask them later on the enhancement proposal.
Cool. Thank you.
All right.
So
Thanks.
I also put the link to the enhancement proposal. I put it into the chat, so please find it there and comment there. Next one in the list would be Christian, our community rockstar. I'm not sure if you have something to share.
I only had one little PR. I can share it for a second. Give me a second. So it's really complicated and a lot of changes. So I added a string and print out the string as the Git upstream repository was not defined with the Keptn create project. So that's basically it, right? So this week I had a lazy task.
It's kind of a good first issue.
Yeah, right.
Awesome. Yeah, but thanks anyway.
Welcome.
That's cool. Then if I take a look at the next one, Zohaib, I think he had to drop out of the meeting. I cannot see him anymore in the meeting, so unfortunately he dropped out. Probably he will mention his work in next week's meeting, so we can basically skip this part. If he comes back, we can always go back to this and take a look. Otherwise, I will hand over to, since it's a spec change, maybe to Andreas or Johannes or Christian. I'm actually not sure.
Let me take that one, or let me continue.
So I will stop again.
Well, yeah, this is again the spec that is driving the roadmap right now, the spec change, and it's all about the remediation. The enhancements regarding the remediation workflow, but as Florian showed us today, it's working right now and it's working fine. I also proved it. And what's now missing is testing it out. And yeah, therefore we need to do those two issues, testing it in sense of an integration test and also testing it in sense of an end-to-end scenario using Prometheus for monitoring. This is now the perfect time to go over to the current working items. And like I did the last time, I moved all the issues that were presented today into the done column. Yeah, I think we don't have to go through them again, but there's still a couple of issues in the ready for review Can I ask everyone to give us a short update on that one, whether you're going to present it next time or you don't want to present it because it's maybe not necessary in sense of user facing or relevant. Florian, the first.
Yeah, so this was the refactoring of the logging in the Keptn core services. This is pretty much done. We extracted one of those to-do items here into a new issue, which was the multi-service WebSocket logging, simply because we don't need it right now, and it would require too much effort that we can concentrate on other issues right now. So yeah, from a user perspective, it's not too spectacular, so that's why I chose to not present it today. Because as the label says, it was a chore, and yeah, for the user, nothing has changed really with that.
Okay, then I assume that we can move it over to the done column.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, this one would not have been possible in the demo from Florian, because actually we saw it there that the Unleash service sent out action started event. And Andreas, correct me if I'm wrong, but I can move it over to done.
Yes, move it over. This is also not too spectacular.
This one is pretty nice. We are going to support keys with 0.7.
Yeah, so I have completed this task. Basically, there's like one subtask open. It's merging the support matrix. There was like one little thing to do there still, but it's essentially done. I think I've talked about it the last time when I've shown like the integration tests that are running now on keys and stuff like that. So yeah, we've also updated the docs to have some information about what to do when installing Keptn on keys. It's more about like having the experience of downloading and installing keys and then immediately installing Keptn, and it just works quite nicely. And on that subject, I also just want to note that there is like I think there's a YouTube video now available about installing Keptn on keys with a single command. So
all right. Then I leave it there, and when the PR is merged into the documentation, then we move it over.
Yeah.
All right. Then we have two from Ermin. The one is using the public API, and the second one is display the out of sync labels.
Yeah, it's actually the same status as last week. Or actually, I have been working now on the public API. There is already a pull request, and there have been just some conflicts which are fixed now. So this one can be merged, and as soon as the pull request is merged, we can mark it as done. And the same is also with the display the services out of sync, because I already presented that one 2 weeks ago. But this requires the merge of public API first, and then that one can also be merged.
All right. Then let's continue. Ermin, what's the status of that one? Introducing the buttons to approve or to decline deployment?
Yeah, that one is work in progress actually. So, yeah.
Okay. Then Christian, I think you
That's
showed
already
us.
merged, right?
It's merged, and you already showed us that one. I think I forgot
last time
to close it.
it should auto close if the pull request and the issue is linked together. If not, just let me know or let us know via Slack.
Right. Yeah. Then a brief update from my side on this issue. It's done. There is a pull request for the documentation, and it explains how you can configure remediation providers, and also how to configure how to customize your remediation config. What I need is 2 approvals on that one. Okay, then we have here one that is assigned to Gabriel. Yeah, Gabriel could not join today, and I think we will ask him the next time. And the same is true for Thomas. Yeah, Thomas committed to do that one, but he can't join this meeting today. Okay, then let's go over to the backlog. As I said, now it's testing time. From a use case perspective, the tasks are almost done, and now we need to test them. Yeah, and I have here 3 issues. The first one is testing the self-healing and remediation use case, then testing it with Prometheus, and finally there's also still the testing issue regarding the manual approval or delivery assistant features. Who is going to take which one?
I would like to take this first one here.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. Florian. Yeah, the second one is an end-to-end story of setting up remediation actions and then using Prometheus for monitoring, doing a load test, and then finally, based on an alert from Prometheus, triggering the action and validating the outcome.
Yeah, I can take it, but I can't promise that I will be able to do it within the next couple of days. But yeah, I think it's quite independent, so I'm not blocking anyone.
Right. Yeah. Thanks a lot. And then we have still that one from the delivery assistant, where I have written down the different test scenarios and how you can use the approval strategy by combining automatic and manual, and then sending different events and validating again the outcome.
I would like to do that one.
Thank you very much. Florian. Okay. All right, then this one, introducing the API version for the remediation file. What's the content of this task? It's the problem is that in the remediation YAML that we specify in the spec, we say version 0.2, but when we take a look at Kubernetes manifests, then they have the naming of API version, which is semantically stronger. And we as a team agreed on that we also want to name our manifests or to specify the version of our manifests by using the property API version, and then the value should be spec.keptn.sh, and at the end the version or the released spec version. This is kind of an update of the spec documentation, my blog post, and also taking a look into the Go utils library and also into the remediation service that relies on this setting, on this property.
Are we also updating the other files like shipyard, SLO, SLI, or just remediation?
That's a good question.
I would only recommend to update the remediation because this is new. Otherwise, we would be breaking.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Let's focus on the remediation file for this issue, and as we also will change the shipyard in the future, we then introduce the API version as a property there.
All right, so let's...
And the same is true for SLO and SLI. We don't touch them.
All right.
As I brought up this issue, I can take it.
Okay, thanks. Okay, I think there is already a comment on that issue. Let me just scroll down. Yep, Christian is asking for that one.
Right.
Can you take it?
Yeah.
Thanks. Great. Yeah, the idea is that the API, the Keptn API, provides an endpoint, and when sending a request to this endpoint, you get then meta information about your Keptn deployment. And this is the API URL, the bridge URL, in which namespace it's installed, and also which version is installed for Keptn itself and the bridge.
Just a little info. I think the API URL and the bridge URL, I'll remove that from this list because with the pending changes, with the installation options that we're doing, we might not be able to retrieve them the same way you do them right now. So yeah, thanks.
Mm-hmm. I'll
Okay.
remove them here. All right.
We could also discuss whether the namespace is an important information, because this again would require additional RBAC rules.
For getting the namespace.
Mm-hmm.
When it's an API endpoint, right? Which do I have? So it's this an API endpoint in the configuration service, which needs to be implemented, right?
No,
Right.
in the API service.
And the API service.
Mm-hmm.
So does a pod see its own namespace?
No.
No.
The question is more whether we should maybe pass the namespace as an environment variable to the pod, so we don't require any RBAC rules to be set, because that should be easier.
Yeah.
But I agree there might be some discussion, so let's discuss this on the issue when we're ready.
Okay.
All right, then we have here an issue from Andy, in which let's go here. Well, yeah, the title says that we should provide evaluation results in case of a failed test execution. The problem is that it's kind of misleading that you get 100 out of 100 points, but the evaluation actually failed because the preceding test failed, and this should be streamlined.
I will take that one.
All right, cool. Then we have that one that was brought up by Adam. It's a problem regarding the MongoDB permissions. Christian, can you give us an update on that one? Because I saw that you've commented there.
The problem is that, and Adam has commented that below, if you install Keptn on a Minikube virtual machine and you shut down that virtual machine and start it again, there seems to be some problem with the permissions for the MongoDB data folder. And as a first step, it would be nice to reproduce the issue. So Adam has only posted us how to reproduce it, but we haven't really seen it ourselves. And as a second step, it would be nice to investigate if we can actually do something to fix that, or if the general recommendation should be don't use Minikube. So basically the entrance barrier here, or the entry barrier here, is can you run Minikube in a virtual machine? If you can, then this is, you can try out to install Keptn and then add some data and reboot the virtual machine and see if things still work, or if the behavior that Adam described is happening.
I have a general question, because a couple of issues came up with Minikube in the last couple of weeks. And now, as we have an alternative with keys and also micro Kubernetes, what's your thought on kind of dismissing Minikube overall, or is it still necessary?
So in my opinion, it's not that important to support Minikube, but I know many people or many developers use Minikube as the preferred option. So I don't know if that's a good idea to just dismiss Minikube. But if we can collect a couple of issues and we can see that these are related to Minikube and not Keptn, then sure. I mean,
so I can give my 2 cents to this issue. So because it's happening to my virtual machine all the time. So and I'm using Ubuntu with Minikube, and now I switch to keys. So I tried to fix this one, but I have no idea why it's always crashing the data store.
And we also had other people like Alex was reporting today that he had issues on Minikube. I mean, I think has some other things as well going on his machine. But also instability issues of Minikube, and the resource consumption is higher, right? So just pointing it out there. It feels for me that we have better alternatives. That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, I'd still say, so if we know that it's happening, then let's document this as a known issue. And in the docs, we can write that Minikube is supported, but we discourage using it because we have known issues.
All right, then this means that we don't investigate that one, and we provide documentation.
I mean, Christian Heckelmann just said that he had the same issue, so that counts as investigating for me.
I can add a comment to the issue if you want.
Yes, please. That would be amazing.
And then I will assign it to myself to provide the documentation on our page. Okay. Then now we are coming to bridge-related issues. The first one is when you are installing Keptn the first time and you have no service onboarded or deployed, then it's kind of surprising, or you don't get any information what's going on in your environment. And it's also kind of, it kind of is surprising.
Looks like broken.
Looks like broken, thanks. And instead of showing an empty environment, I recommend to at least provide some information that there has no deployment happened in each stage. And here you should provide an info button or an info that shows how you can trigger your first deployment. Well, it's kind of fun. It's providing information on an empty screen.
Yeah, it's an easy one. That's why it's also marked as good first issue.
Good first. But can I assign it to you, Ermin?
Of course, I will take that one.
So then it's Ermin. Right, thanks a lot. And then we have Gmeter does not properly handle errors of configuration of the configuration service.
I think we didn't finalize the decision on that yet, but we can skip that issue, I think, for now, because we are getting the updated version from Andy Grabner's Chemita extended service merged next week.
Thanks a lot for letting me know. This means I will remove it from the backlog because it will be obsolete when we have the new Chemita service.
I'm not sure whether we should at least double check it.
I was also wondering if I fixed this problem in my version. Hopefully I did, but
Then let me just go to the issue.
Let's leave it in 07, but let's prioritize it after the merge of the Chemita extended service then.
Will the Chemita extended be merged into the Chemita and will be part of the Keptn core, or is it the other way around?
The plan is that Chemita extended is then part of Keptn core.
Okay.
With 0.7.
Got it.
I would have one question. Does it make sense to merge Chemita into the Keptn core? Because Keptn core probably will only contain the control plane with 0.8, or should we directly move it to Keptn contrib?
It's part of Keptn contrib right now, so
Yeah.
we can leave it there and remove Chemita, but right now that would require people for the full use case to have an additional step of installing Chemita. So I'm not sure if there is an immediate benefit right now, but I understand your idea. So
I also understand, but then we don't have this battery included anymore, and we then need or Keptn users need to manually install the Chemita service then.
Yeah,
which will be or will be supported when we have the uniform concept.
I mean, also an installation would be possible even if Chemita is in another repository in Keptn contrib. So we could automatically install it.
I'm against that because that would mean that we have the Keptn repository, and we reference something that's in Keptn contrib. So I would like the repository to be self-contained as much as possible. So if we install Chemita extended service with the Keptn installer automatically, it should be in the Keptn repository. I just don't want to mix those two.
Makes sense, but now we will add it to Keptn, and in a few months we will remove it. Probably.
I fully understand. We can have the discussion afterwards as well. We don't need to decide right now.
Yeah, no, but I also got your point, so this is fine for me. It was just an idea.
All right, then let's continue with the next one. It's about Keptn uninstall on an OpenShift environment. There it's the problem that we recommend to delete OpenShift namespaces, and that's not what we should recommend in the uninstall command. And the idea is that we simply skip namespaces or don't show namespaces that start with OpenShift. I think it's a only CLI related issue where we filter out namespaces that are not starting with OpenShift or that are starting with OpenShift.
I think I can take this one as well.
Thanks a lot.
Oh, I need to comment on the issue, right?
Yep. Cool. Thank you very much.
So we are on top of the hour right now.
Top of the hour. Has someone the feeling to have not enough work for the next week? It's silent. Otherwise, okay. Let's. I will keep the issues in the backlog, and when you think that you are running out of work, yeah, please feel free to grab one from the backlog, as they are prioritized in this list. All
okay,
right.
then I think we can wrap up. Is there anything else? Are there some questions, some remarks from the community? Otherwise, thanks everyone for joining. Congratulations again, Christian, and see you all next week.
Thank you.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.